Welcome to tutorial 3, Flash Animation, the Bone tool. In this activity you're going to be introduced to the Bone tool, which replaces the old method of drawing the same character many times and with slightly different poses. So as usual, let's start with Flash Action Script 3. Adjust your stage or work area to make it as big as you can for your particular screen, and add the grid to it so you can get an idea of size. So go View Grid, Show Grid. Alright, we're going to start off using the pencil tool and go over to the properties of the pencil tool. Let's pick the color black for the outline, and the thickness of the pencil, where it says strokes, change to 2. Now notice underneath it describes what is called smoothing, smoothing at 50%. What that means is that when you draw something, it will try to, if there's little bumps, it'll try to make it a smooth shape. Sometimes it seems to put bumps where there weren't any. But anyway, here's an example. We'll start in the center of the screen. We're going to draw a leg, in this case, the upper leg and lower leg. So there's the thigh, and we're going down to the bottom of the pant leg, up over your knee, and back to where we started. Up. Now I don't really want that, so I'm going to try to take that out with my eraser. There we go. Now, excuse me, I seem to have lost my leg. I've made it a bit too big, so I'm going to use the I'm going to select it first of all. So draw a box completely around it. Turn on the transform tool and grab a corner. Always use a corner, otherwise it distorts the dimension. That's about the size, that's about the size you want. Hit escape and turn on your pencil tool again. Well, only if you made it too large. If you didn't have to resize it, don't bother. Turn on your pencil tool. It should still be black and the size should still be 2, and draw some sort of a shoe. It can be a stiletto, it can be whatever you want. So I'm going to draw a typical heel shoe. And you've got to go back to where you started, otherwise it won't be a complete object. So go along the edge of the pant leg and right back to wherever you started. Now notice I've left a little gap there. We can live with that gap. Now turn on your paint bucket and color them in to whatever colors you want, but don't pick really dark colors. I've got my paint bucket on. I don't think it is on actually. Paint bucket, yep. And I'm going to put the shoes as, the pants as a light blue. And the shoes, in my case, I'm going to make them brilliant red. There we go. It's got red running shoes or something. Now, we want to copy that for 60 frames. So go to frame 60, click, then right click, and insert a keyframe. What does that do? That copies frame 1 to all the cells or frames in between frame 1 and frame 60. Go back to frame 1. Now we're going to turn on the Bone tool. Notice the whole leg is selected. It's sort of highlighted there. Turn on the Bone tool. It's over here. When you go to the Bone tool, you'll notice there's a little arrow under it, a drop arrow, to show you that there's actually 2 tools there: the Bone tool with an X after it and the Bind tool with a Z after it. You can use your keyboard, that is Control X, to turn the Bone tool on. I'm just going to click on it, and as soon as I do, notice I'll put it above the leg. There's a little sort of cross and a bone beneath it. Now start up here where your hip would normally rotate, the leg would rotate at the hip, and when you do, go down to the first rotation point, which is of course your knee. So I've got a rotation. There's where it rotates about, and it rotates the knee. Now it's like your bones in your body. They're connected, of course not one on top of the other like this. Now draw the next bone down to partway into the foot where your ankle will be. And the third one to the end of the shoe. So you've got 3 possible motions there. Now, that's going to be copied in every cell all the way through. Go back to frame 1 and turn on your move tool. And notice what motion this gives you. You can move the whole leg. Move it up there. Move it down. Straighten it out. Now when you straighten it out, if you do it in sort of an unnatural, well, even not an unnatural, it's straight out, it does a bit of a change. It puts a wrinkle in there. So this is a limitation of the bone tool. It's going to do some, it is trying to figure out what you really want. And it can't, so it has its limitations. I'm going to put it back where it was, over here. In fact, I'm going to put it way over here. In frame 1, I'm going to put it over here. Now I'll leave it there. I'll leave it. Oops. I've got to grab it properly. Grab the knee. Grab the foot. Okay, that's roughly where it was. Go to frame 20. Frame 20 is going to be a point where we're going to change the position of the leg, and right click and click on this bit that says insert pose. Let it do it, and when it's done its work, it'll leave a dot in that particular frame. Go to frame 40 and repeat that operation. Insert pose. And finally, frame 60, right click, insert pose. Now, we're going to put a ball in this. And notice, by the way, as soon as you turn on the bone tool, you've created a new layer, or it's created a new layer itself called the armature. And the original layer in which you had drawn the leg is now completely empty. That's why it's white. It was gray before. It's now completely empty, which means it's moved all the contents of those cells up to the other layer, to the armature layer. So the armature will always do that. Now, if you run into the problem where you get different colored bones or different colored symbols there, it means it's created more than one layer. You have to use Control Z and go back. And if it still continues to do that, ask your teacher for some help. You've forgotten to do something. All right, go to cell 1 of the layer 1. Click on it. And there I want you to draw something that the foot is going to kick, i.e. a ball. So turn on your pencil tool again. Still black, leave it 2. And just draw a ball. Don't worry, it's not circular. It'll make it circular. Isn't that beautiful? Even though I didn't draw a circle, it made it circular in frame 1. And you can color that in any way you want. I'm just going to pick a solid color. Turning on my paint bucket. Pick some different color though. Mine's going to happen to be a yellow ball. There we go. Now, in that layer where the ball is, click, right click, and create motion tween. Now it says right away you can't do that unless you convert the ball, in this case, to a symbol. Do you want to do that? Sure. We could have done it by going to modify, convert to symbol, but it's done it for us. And you can tell from that blue frame around it that it has done so. Now, let's see where let's go to frame 1. Frame 1, that's where the foot is. I want you to move the foot, turn on your move tool, your select tool rather, and move the foot back here. This is a person that's going to kick that ball. There's where the ball is. Frame 20, in the armature layer. Move the foot until the ball is just being touched by the foot. All right. Frame 40. Move the foot beyond the ball. So it's continued moving. Don't worry, we're going to move the ball a bit later. And frame 60, the leg is going to swing back, but we'll make it slightly up like that. swinging back after having kicked the ball. So the contact with the ball takes place in frame 20. So go to frame 20 and insert a keyframe. And it's going to be a position keyframe. Go to the last frame in that same layer and move the ball up to the corner. And notice what it did, it's created the path that it's following because we've got a motion tween in there. Alright, let's see what we've done. Go Control, Test Movie. The ball hit by the leg and shoots up. Simple movie. And last step, let's put a background in there, a colored background. So just add a new layer, go down to the bottom where it says New Layer, click. And that's going to be your layer 3, but I want to move it to the very bottom because it's a background. So move layer 1 up, call layer 1 Ball. Don't try to rename the armature layer. It sometimes causes a problem if you try to change its name. Layer 3 is going to be Background. Go to cell 1 in layer 3. And I'm going to show you an interesting tool over here. We could paint the whole background, but instead of doing that, the easiest way to paint it would be to use the rectangle tool and color it in. There's an interesting tool down here, which I think is new with CS4. It's called the Deco tool. When you turn it on and go to the properties side of the drawing board, you see it says Vine Fill, but there's other things in there. Grid Fill, Symmetry Brush. You can play around with these. I'm going to use the Vine Fill, which is green, and I'm going to pick a red for the other part. And watch what happens when you click on it. It fills that whole area that you have identified with, in this case, a beautiful vine with a green vine with red flowers, because I happen to pick those colors. So it's just an easy way to, it's kind of decorative, but just to fill it up. So I just had finished that space over there. So let's have a look at the final movie. Control, Test Movie. There's the foot kicking the ball, not completely natural motion because the ball slides up the leg before it shoots off. So I could have moved the leg back a bit. But the main purpose of this activity was simply to learn how to use the bone tool to create the impression of motion in a very, very simple manner. Alright, save your work in your technology folder, in your Flash animation folder as tutorial 3, the bone tool. Thank you.